Spring now, huh? My goodness. The pollen is up. The rain is up and down and up and down. The garden's looking pretty good. My tomato plants are a little more than a foot tall. How about yours? I hope things are going well. I can't complain about too much today. It's been a good week in my world. I hope so in yours as well. Good morning, Lance.
Good morning, GM. How's it going?
Well, you know, I have to say, it's World Piano Day, and I'm regretting that I never actually got better at it than I did. But wouldn't it be a nice day to have somebody just play a little piano, you know?
Oh, yeah. You can't ever go wrong with the piano.
Can't ever go wrong with somebody in the back corner of the room, you know, making a little fun for you. It's a nice thing. If you want to learn a lot about math, you want to learn a whole lot about kind of holding your stuff together in public when you have to perform, the piano's a good way to go. It's a great big thing, so you don't have to play and don't have to carry it with you. Well, you can take a little keyboard with you, but you can't take the whole big piano. And it's probably a good thing. So I would like to encourage more people to take piano lessons and pick it up a little bit. I'm terrible myself. Despite the time they spent giving me piano lessons, it was, well, they suggested that I take up a different instrument. Let's put it that way. So I did.
I was given a trombone, you know, like in 7th grade, so that was
as tall
the
as
extent
you.
of my music learning was about a year or two of that.
It was as tall as you. That's why.
I think they just wanted somebody to play it. They knew I was a sports person, and they're like, yeah, we'll give him the trombone. He's not going to make it anyway, so yeah, we're going to discourage him as much as possible.
I have never known a music teacher, and I've had plenty of them, that didn't believe truly if you just worked a little harder, you could be much better.
Oh, I begged him. I'm like, I'll quit. I'm going to quit, you know, if you don't give me the drums or something that I want to play. I mean, I firmly, it took me 30 years to get back my love for trying to learn music after that. It really burned me. But it took, I guess I was probably late 30s. And I said, you know, I'm going to teach myself music. And I went through everything you could possibly do, learned everything you could possibly learn, and couldn't play music. But I knew music. And,
why do I have a picture of you with a set of bongos on a beach somewhere?
Yeah, it'd be more appropriate.
I can see that.
Yeah, I can hack around on a guitar and bang around on a piano a little bit, but I don't know how to make music with it. You know, I could copy.
We all try.
Yeah, I could copy somebody else, but, you know, you don't think in the way a creative person would. You're thinking of, hitting A and A minor and this and that and making sure everything runs. Whereas a real musician, they're playing music. They're not thinking about it. So,
well, it is like dancing. It's actually like cursive writing. There's a point where you're doing it, but you're not conscious of each letter or of each sound or of each step. It becomes part of the whole. And that's what we hope for, of course. You know, somebody else's tomatoes look better than mine. Who's that? Who's sending us such good tomatoes today? That's nice. I like it.
This is from the Mark Patrick pictures, and so they apparently he knows.
Well, then those are Bush Goliath tomatoes for those of you at SuperTalk.tv looking in to see, because he told me that they were coming along. He'll be with us for a minute this morning. He's going to talk to us a little bit about some stuff going on, and quite frankly. Oh, Mike, you're right. Mike Hepp suggests Floyd Kramer's Last Date. It's a great song. You're so right. There were a lot of that. And, of course, you know, Jerry Lee Lewis, if you can stand it. if you can watch that. I come from his part of the world, y'all. I'm from North Louisiana, just like he is. It's not a complaint. It's just a reality. It's a lot. He's a lot. We're looking at a banana shrub now blooming, and that's another thing that's blooming at my house. And this is not my picture, but we're seeing those beautiful springs come along and give us our flowers that we're looking for. And, ooh, those beautiful scents. My goodness. Super, super, super perfect. I am planting something this week that you may or may not grow. I have, oh, my goodness. I have designs on cucumbers, and the reason for that is because I have discovered that although I love cucumbers, they, like some things like green bell peppers, don't always love me. So for the last few years, I have been very quietly growing European, what are called burpless cucumbers, and also some of the small cucumbers that are intended for eating as a snack, like I don't think they're for pickling, but you could certainly pickle them. They're little small cucumbers like that, with great success. And I didn't want you all to think that you have to have a huge trellis or some kind of gigantic garden to grow cucumbers. You can grow container varieties, and you can actually get some that form bushes rather than vines. So there's a few things about cucumbers that we really don't pay much attention to, I'm afraid. We tend to break them up into pickling and fresh eating types, and that's very true. There's pickling types, but there's also the slicing types, as they call it. I have to say, straight 8 is probably the most commonly grown cucumber across this part of the world. That's because it won the All-America selection in 1938 and has never been shown to be a bad cucumber. But it is one that will get, if it's rainy in the summer, it will get really big really fast with a lot of seeds in it. So make sure that when you grow these, when you grow any cucumber, pick it at about 4 to 5 inches long at the most. If it's a little bitty cucumber, it's got to be sooner than that for a gherkin or a fresh eating pickle. But there's really opportunities to grow them that do involve a trellis, but there's others that don't. Generally speaking, what we're talking about is the things that happen with cucumbers tend to be related to the way they harvest, the way they are harvested rather, or when they're harvested, but it also can have something to do with the growing conditions. The poor fruit shape, sometimes you'll see some that are just twisted or that actually have a look like an L, they have an odd sort of bend in them. Sometimes they'll have lumps. But all of that can be either low soil fertility, so that's another good reason to make sure you're using fertilizer, but also that you're feeding the soil as well as the plants. It can be drought, though, and cucumbers are not the first thing to wilt, but they're among the first. So if you grow cucumbers, it's sort of like tomatoes. If you let them wilt, they may or may not come back and do well for you. So pay attention to their needs for water. Mulch them when you can. Bitter cucumbers a lot of times have that holds the same reasons, but they can also be brought on by high temperatures. So that's another reason that we grow them in the spring into the early summer, because midsummer cucumbers can be pretty bitter, and something you don't necessarily want to do that. They do not cross with melons and squash and those other things that we often hear about from people, but the cucumbers will cross with each other. Sometimes that's a good thing, sometimes it's not. If you're going to grow pickling cucumbers and slicing cucumbers, I suggest putting them on the opposite ends of the garden at least 20 feet apart. Okay, that's my suggestion. If you want to grow your cucumbers in seedling pots, you can do that, but you can also plant them right directly into the soil, especially if you have waited till now to do it. It won't be a problem. Most of the new cucumber varieties are fairly resistant to diseases and whatnot, and I like all of those things. There's some insect problems, but generally speaking, if you grow cucumbers in the springtime and you give yourself the opportunity to take good care of them with water and fertilizer, they're not going to have very many pests, and if they do, there won't be anything you can't get rid of. I'm really happy to tell you that we also got Paula from Dentville weighing in this morning. Hello. And there's so much going on. The hummingbirds are back. The spireas are blooming. Those of you who follow me on social media will have seen my bridal wreath spirea last night. I love that plant, and I don't really know why, but it's always been in bloom somewhere close to me most of my life in the South, and it always makes me feel better when it does that. So I hope that you're enjoying yours as well. There are some things in the photographs that you will see today from my garden. One of them is treeform loropetalum. What in the world is that? Well, when you plant a shrub and it gets bigger than you think it's going to, sometimes it may say it's only going to be 4 feet tall if you prune it every year. Other times it'll just not really tell you, and all of a sudden you've got this thing that's 6 feet tall and looks like, a blank slate in your front garden, like I did. I ended up limbing the loropetalum up, and the way to do that is to just consistently take the lower branches off for maybe 2 or 3 prunings starting right now. If you're trying to form, say, a Clara or a Loropetalum or anything else like that you want to become tree form now is the time to attack that. You still want to prune the top of it to let the whole thing make a nice bubble shape or a nice hat shape, but you don't have to prune the bottom except to take it off if you want to make a tree form shrub out of it, and I'm all for that. There's another diagram that you'll see today of air layering. We can talk about that. I'm about to take on a pretty big Dracaena that I'm going to air layer, and I'll let you know how that is going. Raised beds today, of course, some opportunities to figure out where you're going to plant the annuals and how to show them off. I've got a rose to recommend for you if you are in an area that does not have a whole lot of sunshine, just has maybe morning sun. You can certainly grow Rose Buff Beauty. That's a really pretty one. You'll like it. And there's another new rose. Oh, my goodness. So, among her many other talents, you may have seen at some point Barbra Streisand opened up the doors of her doll houses and her exhibits of all of that sort of stuff. That's all fine and good, and it's lovely, and I'm sure that it's extremely, cherished by her and her family. But her rose garden, I would literally pay money to go walk in her rose garden. She has such a big garden, such a great garden staff, and such a wonderful, beautiful collection of varieties, to the point where they have discovered a few years ago, let's put it this way, they're releasing this rose this year. It's called Barbara's Baby. You won't be able to get it. It's going to be really scarce for a while and very expensive because she's so popular. But it's a very pretty rose, and I'm going to tell you how it got here. She had a rose. The rose bloomed, and one of the bushes in the group bloomed with a different color. All right? So that was nice. That's when you try and propagate it and try and see if any of the others are going to do that. Well, that bush continued to produce the different color and also continued to grow and be healthy. So that gave them the opportunity to take that plant and turn it into a plant that they could get propagated and then grow it consistently. You do that for several years. And in fact, it has turned out to be stable. It is named Barbara's Baby, and it's a really lovely rose. I think it's a very cool thing. I don't think anybody's ever going to name a plant after me, but I will tell you that it is fun to do. It's fun to see someone else get the chance to pick that all up. Interesting enough. Let's see. Ken is here. He is trying something new. I'm not sure what this is. What happens with zinnias and the wildflower mix? Oh, okay. Any suggestion? I would seed them directly. He's asking pot versus plant in the ground combination. You can always do both just to see how they come out. But at this time of the year, we're really in good shape for planting into the beds outside, and you'll be a little bit ahead if you do that. So I think that's good. That Dracaena is... He says that his Dracaena seems to be finicky. I don't think that mine's finicky. I have Dracaenas are like peace lilies in that they like bright light. They don't like direct sun. They do not like to stay wet, but you can't let them dry out. So they're a little finicky that way. You have to pay attention to what's going on and give yourself a chance to help with that. Help them get through that. Let's see. What else? There's so many things. Good grief. Today is such a busy, busy day. I'm happy to report to you that there's some science being done that wants us to understand this. I really think I pulled this story to tell you just because it allowed that I could say this line. Study suggests cats could fill an assistive niche. Like service dogs. I talked to my cats about this. They said, okay, sure, fine. But they're not about to even think about that. You've been talking to somebody on the phone for a while.
Mike is on the line.
Do they want to talk to me?
Yeah, of course.
Okay,
Mike
good.
had an idea for you.
All righty. Hey, Mike, what's going on today?
I got a good one for you. How many things have you got that's unsafe in your garage?
I don't have a garage.
I got.
So.
Oh, that's right. You got a menagerie. Okay, what I thought of is everybody's got a ladder that I dare to step on, or got a old fishing pole or any kind of long piece of wood or something like that, take it outside, especially a ladder, and use it for morning glories.
Ah, now there's a good idea. I don't see any reason not to do that. I have all the bamboo that I cured last year. Then the morning glory's already started on it.
Make a teepee out of it.
I like it.
Different flavors going up the shafts of it.
You're going to grow more morning glories this year?
Oh, yes, I'm already started. I'm looking for some black ones. I had some one time, but I had them mixed up, all the seeds. And if you have mixed up seeds, that one different color one's going to spoil everything. But my friend, matter of fact, she had the same birthday as mine, June 11th, 1953, and the same birthday, very close friend. And I want to give her a bunch of morning glories. And I've been giving her all kind of flowers, stuff like that, and she names them as a Mike 3 or Mike 4.
Oh, that's fun.
But and she's got 40 or 50 amaryllis. She's got all kinds of flowers.
I just rode past a garden that I could tell the family has been giving amaryllis for years. There were about 20 of them going up the side in the little side bed next to their driveway. It was so pretty. Half of them were in bloom. I presume the other half already bloomed, but it was just so pretty, and I love that. I love that she's got a bunch of those. What else is on your mind?
I did a small American flag a couple of years ago. I haven't sent you the picture of it, but I'm working on a 6 foot by 8 foot, maybe 8 by 10 foot American flag using red and white morning glories, and I can train them where I want to.
That's great.
And also the blue morning glories and some white for the stars. I think that'd be fantastic.
Well, that's wonderful. I look forward to seeing it. Thank you for telling me about it. You know what else today is today is Vietnam Veterans Day, friends. Thank you for your service. Thanks to all of us who went through that particular time. On this date in 1973 was our last engagement there. Lots to do, lots to think about, lots to plant, and lots to grow. This is the Garden Mama Show. You know, if you've ever been where Guy Clark performs, or if you see a video of it, it's very non-assuming. He's there with 2 or 3 people, and they're just playing along, and then the next thing you know, the entire crowd is chanting homegrown tomatoes. I don't care if it's 50 people or 5,000. It's really cool. He has had such an impact with that over the years. What fun. This is a really... this is an odd way to thank somebody, but thank you, Shelley. I've got to tell y'all, the spring issue of Meridian Magazine is out, and our general manager at SuperTalk Meridian, Shelley Whitehead, has written a wonderful article about me, mostly about tomatoes, but about me. So I appreciate that. Y'all read it and tune yourselves in over yonder. Her show is astounding. Her show is amazing. It's always got something going on that you'll love. It's grind, grace, and growth. And Shelley is the best. So thank you very much for doing that. And I look forward to seeing y'all very soon over there in Meridian. Now, I think we're going to talk about another event. You know, there's a lot going on. Have we got Mark yet? Hey, Mark.
Good morning.
The one and only Peaches Patrick is here. You know what? I may as well just put a blow-up bed in the back of your truck, because we're going to be spending so much time together over the next 6 weeks. I don't need to go home.
Yeah, if I sound bad, it's because I'm sitting in a sea of oak tassels, and
like all of us. Yes. It rained last night, and I still had to rinse off the car this morning. So that's how that's going.
Well, I'm pulling mine out of the carport and going to get it washed for free today.
Well, that's good.
You know.
Now, listen, let's talk about a couple of things. I see that you have sent some really cool pictures of pickles from Doris Berry's, and we have an event coming up. What all are we doing?
Well, next Saturday, when we get off the air, we're going to go to Doris Berry's on Highway 80 in Pearl, and we're going to hang out from 11 to 1. We're going to give away a gift basket from Doris Berry's.
I have to tell
hang
you,
out.
this is a basket not to be missed, y'all. She has gorgeous stuff.
Oh man, I'm telling you, she has some of the most fun jellies and jams and pickles I've ever seen.
Oh yeah, big collection.
And they make them right there.
Yeah, it's cool.
It's amazing.
It's very cool. So we'll be
it's
there
always
next
a good
Saturday. We'll be
time.
there from 11 to 1 next Saturday. We wish that folks that are passing through Pearl or can get there, just come on and see us because we're going to have fun. We always answer questions, talk about the plants and things that are there, and then we give away this gigantic basket. So it's going to be fun.
Yeah, it's great fun. It's our second year in a row, and they're real excited about it. And
So am I.
hey, it's a fun place. And gosh, how long has Doris Berry's been around? Does anybody know?
Well, I came to Mississippi in the late 90s, and she was an institution already at that point. So, it's like, hello, nice to meet you.
Anytime that Mr. Waters does a watercolor review,
Exactly.
you're officially an institution.
I think when White Waters puts you into permanent paint, you have arrived, way past arrived. Beautiful stuff.
Exactly.
Now, the part of the reason why we are also here on the air today is so that we can promote something brand new in the metro area, which of course invites everybody to come. But on May the 10th, we will be with Donna Yowell and some really cool people at the Garden and Flower Show, which is going to be at the Jackson Yacht Club. This is a group of people that decided that there's not a garden show in the Jackson area at this particular time, so they're just going to have one. So Mark and I will be there with plants. We've got, of course, great sponsorship from Lakeland Yard and Garden for that, and we will be there talking and carrying on, and just it's going to be fun. It's going to be a fun day. It's going to be from 11 to 3. Is that right? I think that's right.
I believe that's correct. Now, I'll have to dig out some more of that. I've got a stack of events over the next 3-4 weeks.
I know, and
Yeah,
I
I'm
don't
probably
have
gonna
I don't
have
have a
to out-
website. I don't have a website anymore to just put all those up, but I do put them into Garden Mama when y'all send them to me. So whether it's in New Albany or it's on the coast or wherever you are, I do post those and just so send them to me at Garden Mama, and I'll be able to get that up there for you.
I even saw just this morning, and I don't know how I missed this, but the Brandon FFA is having a plant sale at their greenhouse here in Brandon, Mississippi today.
Well, and speaking of that, the FFA in Atala County is having theirs the Easter weekend. So it's just everywhere. Yeah. Everybody's growing plants. It makes us so happy. I know you got a million things to do, and you got to inhale some more oak catkins.
Yes.
But you'll be here with me next week, right?
Yeah, I've got to get busy, rain or no rain.
We got a lot to do. Mark Peaches Patrick will be here. Southern Charm Garden Design Service is his business, and in fact, his whole world at this particular moment because it's springtime.
Exactly.
So y'all tune in next week, and we'll talk about what's going on with that. And, by all means, come see us next week at Doris Berry's if you're in the metro area because we'll have fun. Thank you, Mark. By the way, your Goliaths look great. Your baby Goliath tomatoes look beautiful.
I can already taste them.
I hope they're right by next week because I'll be sleeping in the back end of your truck and I'll be there.
It's going to be 85 tomorrow. Who knows? They may turn red tonight.
They might. Good grief. Okay, now, see, we're on that roller coaster. We just have to keep growing and keep going. Thank you, Mark. See you soon. Thank you very much. Appreciate you. What fun. Amanda from Pike County has brought up one of my very favorite cut flowers, and I'm so happy that she did. She says, "Hey, Garden Mama, I have planted a row of bishop flower, which is also called green mist, in my stock garden. Will they grow in Walthall County? Absolutely yes. Or have I wasted growing space? No, you have not." This is Ami. For those of you who have not grown it before, it is also called false Queen Anne's lace. It has it's really, in terms of the flower, it's a little bit smaller than the big Queen Anne's lace you see on the side of the road a lot of the time, but it's a little bit bigger than the white yarrow that looks so much like it. So it's a medium-sized white flower head that's absolutely beautiful, long-lasting cut flower, and very easy to grow in our part of the world. I love that plant. I'm so glad that you did. But yes, you should also go ahead and plant some zinnias and cosmos because that'd be such pretty bouquets. Beautiful, beautiful. I love that. Let's see. Oh, good question. Sowing raised beds soon. Never knew cucumbers didn't like midsummer heat. What other vegetables don't perform well in heat in zone 8? Would prefer to plant vegetables that thrive a little longer. Well, and thank you. Okay, I've got the note about Moors, too. Super duper. Here's the thing. There's this. Yeah, this is Kathy. I thought that must be you. Cucumber. That's the reason why there's so many stressors in the middle of the summer. For example, the reason we grow corn and generally talk about harvesting it Father's Day before the 4th of July, right in that time, is because the insect problems are so much greater later on in the summer. The reason we grow tomatoes and then plant another crop in summer to mature in the fall is because there's so many other problems in the middle of the summer. Stink bugs, for example. You can have a perfectly healthy tomato plant in June that you want to keep growing all the way till the fall, and you may be able to. But you may find that the stink bugs get on the plant and it's too much to deal with, and therefore that's why we plant again. The summer vegetables, the things that really do well through the heat, are things like okra and pumpkins and mirlitons and the almost tropical plants that we grow in zone 7, 8, and 9 for summer crops. So those are some of the things that we do a little bit differently. But that's a really good question. Really, really smart. Paula found some Marion tomato plants. Good. That's a good one. I know a lot of folks have liked that one for many, many moons. We were just talking yesterday about Cherokee purple and other dark red fruits. The tomato that I'm growing this year that I've never grown before is a different one that's a dark red like that. But the black cherry tomatoes have that real distinct taste, and of course Cherokee purple does. There's also, I think it's Arkansas black or Black River tomato that also has that. And Paula's dad used to grow the Marions. Yeah, and there's a good tomato. They do like, they do appreciate a certain amount of heat, and they develop a really good taste. She's right about that. BLTs. Or just tomato sandwiches. Oh, good. We'll get a picture from Amanda when those babies bloom. The Ami is a pretty plant, too. That's the other thing. It just by itself in a bed, even if you don't intend to cut flowers, it will make a beautiful, that's why it's called green mist, because it has a beautiful, just real feathery collection of leaves. They're really, really quite lovely. Beautiful, beautiful things. I wanted to talk to you today a little bit about planting. We keep saying this is time. We're all getting out here planting this. One person's planting this and one person's planting that. And then that's all very true. But what if you haven't done anything at all yet? What if you just want to plant something? Well, there's a couple of tips that I can offer to you. The first is that if you are planting into a brand new bed that you have just built, do a drainage test, because you don't know, the summer might be wet, it might be parched dry, but you need to know how the water is traveling through that bed that you've just made. So dig a hole, put a coffee can or some such thing about that size in it with holes, that you can fill it up, and that also can drain out the bottom. Fill it up, see how long it takes. If it takes half a day to drain out, if it takes 2 hours to drain out, you're going to want to loosen the soil a little bit with some kind of an organic matter or something that's going to help you get better drainage, because otherwise you're not going to have very much success. So there's also a couple of other things. What we're looking for, and I hate to say this because it's used so often, but it really is Goldilocks soil. We're trying to find something that's not too wet, not too dry, not too heavy, not too light, not too sandy, not too clay bound, and have something in the middle so that the plants can push out new roots and also survive in between the waterings or in between the rains, or survive the thunderstorms. Sometimes that's it too. We oftentimes talk about what we have in a plant when we buy it from the garden center and it's completely root bound. I was planting some things this week that were just completely root bound inside the pot. We actually had to cut the pot off of one of the plants to get it repotted. But to plant something in the ground that has had all of that and the roots are going round and round and round, yes, you can cut some of them off, but you can also cut through those roots and help them begin to get wounded, so therefore they will begin to grow more new roots. This, of course, goes along with water and fertilizer. You've got to give them that in order to encourage this process. Mulch will help with the watering situation, as will keeping the weeds pulled. So if you're planting now, go for Goldilocks soil. Go for something that is going to be a workable condition for you, but also something that drains. And give yourself the opportunity to use mulch to help keep it that way. Okay? Okay. One of the things that I'm really intrigued with is the whole thing of what do we do with this, that, or the other thing when we're finished with it. I have been working really hard to recycle a bunch of things. Yesterday, I just came up with a note to myself. I need a wall over here, and I'm going to put all the junk in the wall. So this is the new project. It's posts and concrete blocks and wire, but it's just leftover old wires, nothing brand new, some stuff that needs to get recycled. And then I'm going to drop in every bit of that concrete rubble and all those other things that I have just to make a fence. It's not a wattle fence. It's not a pretty fence, but it's going to do the job. And I encourage you to put stuff to work when you have it, because that's what we really need to do, is make sure that we're using up whatever is laying around. Oh, laying around. So how are you going to get a cat to be your assistant? If I needed help waking up in the morning, my cat would be right there, because they wake me up every morning. But that's really not what we're talking about here. Between their ability to offer stress relief, which of course we understand that petting an animal, whether it's a cat or a dog or a bird or whatever that is compliant with the petting of it, gives you the opportunity to lower your blood pressure, lower stress a lot, and also, frankly, to get a little bit more of a rhythm to your breathing. All those things have been shown. Emotional support, sometimes I get mad at my cats. I'll yell at them instead of yelling at other people, though, and that's probably a good thing. But they may have more. They may have other things that they can do for us. And there are people at Washington State University that are testing and seeing. I got a few cats I'd like to loan them for maybe 6 months. We'll see. We'll be right back. Yeah, there were people singing on that southbound train this week. Lots of people on the train this week, and lots of carrying on, lots of singing, and a little bit of dancing even. It was kind of fun. Very, very humorous attitude from our conductor, which we always appreciate, too. So if you haven't ridden a train recently, make it a point. It's a blast. It's absolutely a blast. This is so beautiful. Greg, these are gorgeous. This picture needs to be the cover of something, a magazine, a brochure, your business, something or another. His blueberries, their blueberries, I should say. I thought about y'all this week. My blueberries look okay, too, but they're not as pretty as yours. They look great. Beautiful, beautiful bee in the flowers. The flowers hadn't lost their petals. Everybody's hanging in there getting pollinated. That's in Yazoo County. So that's really good news. Just an absolutely beautiful shot. If you have never experienced watching a blueberry plant bloom, you have missed something. The flowers are pinkish and whitish, and they're bell-shaped, and they absolutely give no indication at all. They look so fragile. They do not look like they could possibly be putting on the pounds and pounds of wonderful, tough fruit that we get from them. So I suggest bumblebees are gorgeous, too. So thank you for sending that, Greg. We need to find a publication to put that on the front of.
What is up with the bees that, like in the wisteria, I probably have 100 buzzing around. They seem to be really enjoying themselves, and then one just drops and hits the ground like, I've had enough.
Yeah.
I'm done.
Yeah, they're full.
Is that what it is? I
Many
thought that was
times that's
like,
true.
what in the world is going on?
If a bunch of them fall off at once, there's a problem.
No, it's just like one here and there.
One here and there, they'll just
they just seem like belly up,
collapse.
and
they get right back up and move on.
Some of them, it seems like they've just lost it. They've got their belly got too full, and that was my guess, but I didn't know.
They do. They'll fall off, but then they get right back up. Now, on the other hand, for example, the birds that are the very last of the red berries, things like deciduous holly, the possum haw, some of the nandinas, those fruits ferment, okay? And so whether it's bees or birds or whoever, they'll get too much and they'll fall off because they're a little bit tipsy, maybe a lot tipsy. So there's always a reason for that. But if a whole bunch of them eat on the plant and then they all fall off, we know that there's been a systemic insecticide and we've got trouble. But when just one gets overloaded, then you'll see sometimes particularly bumblebees will be so slow you feel like they need to crank up their engines a little bit just to get off the plant because they're having such a good time. So that's kind of fun. Oh, beautiful picture that it doesn't look beautiful, but it was really fun, talking about those plants that have to have their roots cut off. This was a 25-year-old asparagus fern, which I will show you, foxtail fern, which I will show y'all when it's in the garden bed. But this right now is the bottom third of the root ball. It was in a clay pot for 20 or 30 years, and there it is at SuperTalk.tv. And I literally took a saw and impressed everyone around me and cut off the bottom part of it, and then planted that inside another container. And as you can see, it's already starting to green up where there's some sprouts and things, which is fun. And that's just another way to show you that plants want to grow. Plants are trying to grow. When they get root bound, pot bound, you got to give them a little help. You got to give them a little bit of assistance to get on to their next thing. So that's really wonderful too. Yes, ma'am. This picture is of a red buckeye, and I suggest that you go where the tree is and get the buckeyes. The fruit, the flowers will go to to a buckeye. That's where the name for it comes from, and it looks it's a round thing with a little lighter brown piece where it was attached to the plant, and the rest of it becomes dark. Inside of that are the seeds. And what we do is we pick the buckeyes up when they fall, which is quite a few months from now actually. Pick them up, put them into a container with maybe a 1-gallon can, for example, would have 2 buckeyes in it, or 3, with a mix of half some kind of leaf mold or something that you've dug out of the flower bed, and then a little bit of looser stuff, maybe some leaves or some potting soil or something else. So you're trying to give them an environment where they can live and survive and propagate themselves, but not where they're going to get so wet that they rot. So that's the way it's done. And then in another spring, you'll have the plants. I'm happy to say that I have a couple of them myself, and I was out taking pictures of my flowers. The shade's gotten so heavy back there that it's kind of hard to see them in bloom, but they are there. It's just gotten real shady in that part of my garden. But it's a wonderful plant. It's a native plant. It's one that is absolutely beloved by our spring pollinators. So please get yourself some buckeyes. So... We've been talking about hummingbirds, and yes, there was a question sent to me, and I thought I knew the answer, but I did send it on to Ken, and yes, it is 1 to 4. If you mix the sugar in the water stronger, the hummingbirds can't drink it, so they don't like it. So you need to do 1 to 4. And as he said before, it doesn't have to be any fancy water, doesn't have to be boiled, just has to be good, clean water, and put it, no dye, nothing else except sugar, and no, it doesn't work with honey. I had somebody tell me that this week. It didn't work with the honey. Nope, I don't think it will. But speaking of hummingbirds, University of Colorado Boulder is showing us this little tiny thing that they didn't know what they were looking at. They were in Panama, and this is a white-necked Jacobin hummingbird chick, but the researchers had never seen one. And they thought they were looking at a caterpillar. Well, it turns out that's what that hummingbird chick does in order to not get attacked. So this is a 1-day-old bird, no bigger than your little finger, brown fuzz all over its body, and they're able to be real, real slow and real still. But when they came up to look at it, the chick began twitching and shaking its head. They had never seen that in these birds before. And it turns out that they fend off predators. They're mimicking a poisonous caterpillar that lives in that region. I love that. How do we adapt? How do we survive? How do we go through changes? How do we adapt to other people's changes? Well, in this particular case, the world of hummingbirds wanted more hummingbirds, so they're doing this. It's published in Ecology. This Department of Ecology and Evolutionary Biology at CU Boulder says this is the first time this behavior has been described in hummingbirds. That's a big deal. I want to know what else they can imitate that we hadn't realized. We have to get other people to get out there and do some of the research for us, because we really do need to know these things. I love it. Oh, one more note for you today. Yes, bishop's flower. I don't know that you'll find the seeds locally, but Ami seeds are widely available. Renee's seeds, I love her seeds. Eden Brothers has them, and some of the other major ones. I also have that, but that was a good question. I'm glad I could help you with that particular bit of the puzzle. And it's, yes, there is a good reason to use organic fertilizer on vegetable plants. First is that you can fertilize frequently without burning the plants. Second of all, it's going to provide nutrition for the soil as well as the plant that does not do anything to compromise the quality of the soil. And thirdly, it's cheap. So that's the other reason that we use organic fertilizers. Everybody needs to make a point of seeing this or that. That's what it is. Air layering plants. I'm not going to have time to talk about that right now, but we will get to that next segment. I've got another question about that here, and we will get around to it. Coming up next, though, we get a chance to talk to an amazing gardener. If y'all don't know Cecile Wardlaw, get ready. You're going to meet her. And we're going to talk about the Garden Club of Jackson's Home and Garden Tour, which is a big deal, too. So stick with me. This is the Garden Mama Show. Welcome in. I am so glad that you decided you needed to be talking gardening and talking plants today, and just generally speaking, being as green as possible on this beautiful spring day. I was trying to pull up the website, but I was not successful in that. However, I will figure that out before we get out of here because I had it yesterday. The Garden Club of Jackson is one of the garden clubs that my mother could have been a part of. That is to say, she liked to be in the garden. She also was very aware of the issues around her, all around her. We need to have more green space. We need to have more trees planted. And if she were around today, she would also be as concerned about the environment itself and the ecology that we live in and what all we're doing to it, as well as celebrating the plants that we love to grow and the people that grow them. You have an opportunity to participate with my friends at the Garden Club of Jackson coming up very, very soon. April 9 and 10, they're having their garden tour, and I'm happy to say that Cecile Wardlaw is joining us now to talk about it. Good morning, Cecile.
Good morning, Nellie.
What a treat. I drive by your house quite a bit, and I'm always peeking in. So I know what people have got a chance to come and see at your place. What I wanted to say, though, is tell us a little bit about the club and why you all, because y'all work so hard. Why in the world do y'all do all this? It's great.
Well, I think to start with is that we love to garden, and so we have that in common, but we're also passionate about the city of Jackson and its surrounding areas, because not all of our members live in the city limits, but we really just we get concerned about things that are happening in the environment and that municipal governments are sometimes doing, and we just want to try to make it better as much as possible.
And you all really do. Every year, the projects that y'all take on are demonstrable and also are, frankly, a lot of fun to be around. Now, this tour is all in the city of Jackson, and I know that is part of why you all are promoting what we all have here and what we're able to do, but also, quite frankly, because these are some of the older gardens in the area, and they have a lot more to talk about. Y'all have a lot more to show off than maybe some new place has. The reason, of course, for the tour is to raise money and awareness all at the same time. But nobody's going to leave your garden, Cecile, without wanting to go understand more about native plants, finding out what it is what is that? That's the biggest question I think that people get when they go into a garden where it's plants that they have maybe not necessarily seen. What are folks going to see when they come to Cecile Wardlaw's garden?
Well, they're going to see a great variety of plants. I love native plants, and I use them, when they fit my purpose. And when I decide I want to fill up a spot, I try to think, is there a native plant that would fit there? But I also am really dedicated to what I call heirloom plants. They're the things that our grandmothers grew, and they've proven to be great in this environment, this weather, and to be able to stand up to it and come back year after year. And that's what native plants do. Native plants have been here since before us.
You're exactly right. You're exactly right. And, we do have some very well-behaved imports, though. So we like to keep some of them. And I do think that your understanding is what people are going to be they're just going to benefit so much from seeing what you have done, because you do have both of these emphasis in your garden. I think too many people look and this is not your plant, but I'm going to use my Wagila as an example. People like it, but they've never seen it before. They've never heard of it. They don't know why it's there.
Right.
So there are some that are not native, but they're also have maybe fallen out of favor, a little bit. I think about Abelia and all of the bees that get on that in the summer. That plant's been grown in the deep south since before the turn of the last century.
Absolutely.
But it's not native, and it's very well behaved, though.
Yes. That's right. And I think in some ways I'm a lazy gardener because I like to put it in the ground and water it when necessary, but I don't want to fuss over it.
Exactly.
I've got too many plants to fuss over.
Yeah, too many things to do out there.
Yeah.
Too many. Now, Cecile's garden will be on the tour, and as well, there will be 3 other gardens on this tour. I just want to give people the kind of the wrap up of this piece of it. It goes from 9 to 2, rain or shine, y'all. This is real important to know. On April 9 and 10, the tickets are on sale now at thegardenclubofjackson.com, and of course, you can also go to the Everyday Gardener if you're in town. You can go by and get them there. But they will also, and this doesn't happen with every tour, they will be sold at each tour garden on both of those days. So you can make your decision at the last minute if you need to, and that's okay.
That's right. And the $20 is for all 4 gardens, but you can buy your ticket at any one of the gardens.
I love that.
And go to all of them. And Nellie, we have to say that 3 of these gardens are in the heart of Fondren.
They are yours and the 2 that I'm looking forward to. Because I haven't seen all the gardens in Fondren
come
either.
to Fondren and see our gardens, and then have lunch in Fondren.
It'll be fun. It'll be a really good day. Now, we do encourage you, because Fondren is a fairly tight neighborhood and all that, we encourage carpooling whenever possible, just because you can certainly park on the street by these houses. And, of course, we always, at any event in Fondren, we always have plenty of security to, help you feel more confident about being there. But it's also true that if you're in a group of people, you have a better time.
That's right. It's not
really
much fun to go to a garden by yourself.
It's just
you
not.
need somebody to discuss it with.
You're exactly right. How did you decide, because I know your garden has not been open, how did you decide that you were going to participate this time around? I'm thrilled myself, and then a lot of us are, but for folks who don't know you, it is a decision to go through all this.
Well, I did this 23 years ago when my garden was really new. I've been in my house for 28 years. Mm-hmm. And that year it was because I didn't know any better. But this year, the other 3 gardens were chosen, and they're wonderful gardens, but they are professionally designed and maintained. And my good friend Cheryl Welch called, and she and I have always been the advocate for doing our own hands-on gardening, and she said, Cecile, we've got to have one garden that's done by the gardener.
I love
and
that.
You're it.
And you definitely are it. I mean, you're the person. Your hands are all over that garden, and we can see that. But I don't want to let people be mistaken to think that you just sit at home and garden all the time. When you go right now to the Greenwood Cemetery downtown in Jackson, you are going to see the magnificent wisterias, but come back for the roses, because that's Cecile's babies. Tell me about that project.
Well, of course, Felder started it 25 years ago, bringing roses back from the Antique Rose Emporium, and the Master Gardeners helped him plant those original roses.
Oh, yeah.
And since then, we have pruned and propagated and added more roses, and the Master Gardeners and the Old Garden Rose Society and various other just volunteers have helped us through the years, and we have over 300 roses now.
So wonderful. So wonderful.
And we, they're Old Garden Roses, their own root. If you see something you love, come back after the blooming season and get a cutting and take it home and root it yourself.
Just don't take it today. Don't take it when they're in bloom. It doesn't root as well, and it also kind of takes away from the ambiance of the garden. But I was talking earlier today that, sometimes when we do these things and something sports out and makes another flower, sometimes they're able to be stabilized. And Barbara Streisand has a new rose. It's Barbara's Baby, which came from her garden. because like you, she has 300 roses and people to work them and look at them. But this is one that they've been working on. When it was discovered and put into trials a few years ago, I thought, well, they do that to about 1 million daylilies a year, and how many of them do we ever see? But in this case, this particular rose, which is even harder to get to stabilize than a daylily, has actually turned into something. So I think it tells us how much popularity roses have, whether they're old or they're new. But frankly, I'm not going to grow anything that's new if it's a rose. I want my Clotilde Super is still my very favorite rose. I grow the Katrina rose, Peggy Martin, the oldies but goodies, as you say. I'll water a little bit and fertilize a little bit, but that's about all they get.
Yeah, and in the cemetery they get even less of that.
And I do like that you have a pruning day.
Sometimes we put new roses in February. We didn't this year, but
and you do have pruning days too.
When we put new roses in February, I'll try to water them in the summer if it's really bad with my gallon jugs of water. But after that, they are absolutely on their own. And, of course, the greatest threat is the weed eaters.
Oh,
and unfortunately, there's a new contractor who weed-eated the foliage of every perennial in the cemetery 2 weeks ago. So we probably won't see any daylilies this year, or iris, or...
I'm reminded of the amazing Hallie Ellis, who spent so many hours of her life with the highway department trying to get them not to mow down the wildflowers when they were reseeding. Because that's something else that you just have to understand how these things grow, and then you won't mess with them. But the idea of cutting all that stuff down because it looks like something you may not know the plant, you may not, you may think
right.
It's heartbreaking.
I had a real fit over that, but I'm trying to learn to live with it now. And they are old, hardy flowers. Most of them have been growing in the cemetery literally over 100 years.
Yeah, I know that bunch.
It was those flowers that I divided and spread out over the cemetery, the daylilies and the iris and things like that. And they'll come back, but they won't bloom this year.
Well, and that's unfortunate. I hate it, but I'm just so glad the roses are in their great numbers.
But we'll have the roses for sure. We've got wisteria now, and we'll have roses. So the rose, and of course, some of the roses will bloom from now till Christmas.
Yes, and that's, to me, that's the best kind. I want those repeat flowers. I like that.
Yes.
Y'all, now listen, y'all. Go to Cecile Wardlaw's garden. You can buy your tickets ahead of time at thegardenclubofjackson.com. You can buy them at the Everyday Gardener. You can also go to the garden that day. So just look them up at their website, and you'll see where they all are. And quite frankly, once you go to one, you're going to want to go to all of them. But if you don't go to any but one, go to Cecile's. I'm telling you,
go to all of them.
You'll enjoy it, and you will learn something. Well, they are very different, and just from the way that they're described, you can tell, as you're saying, that some are done one way and some are done the other way, and that's really kind of the world of garden clubs. We appreciate everything, we appreciate hand labor, we appreciate pro labor, we appreciate all of that, simply because we love plants, and we want to see more of them. Tickets are $20. The tour is 9 to 2, rain or shine, on April 9 and 10, which is perfect. It's a great time. Come to Fondren for the tour. As Cecile says, have some lunch and get around and see the gardens, and you're going to have a wonderful time and help us out with this great cause, too.
That's right, and we appreciate so much you're helping us spread the word about it, Nellie.
Of course, y'all are so good to me. I blush every time I think about it. So thank you, Cecile.
The next time you ride by, just stop, and we'll have
I'll jump over. Okay, I'm going to take you up on that. Thank you so much, Cecile Wardlaw and the Garden Club of Jackson.com. Now, where's your garden tour? You going to tell me about it? I hope so. I hope you will be bringing me some information about what your group is doing, what your place is happening, what all's going on in your area. We get through the plant sales pretty much in April, and then the tours and other events kind of start up. I have a wonderful announcement to tell you about today that I'm so proud and so happy. Hello, Tupelo. May 17th, I will be at the Tupelo Farmers Depot. Y'all, come on. This is going to be fun. I haven't been there in way too long, and I really look forward to it. It's one of my very favorite places. Tupelo's terrific all the way around, but that Farmers Depot is one of the very best that we have to offer in our state when it comes to farmers markets. And that's going to be, by the time I'm there in May, it's going to be wonderful. There's going to be so much to enjoy and appreciate and such a good time. So it is May the 17th, the Tupelo Farmers Depot. I'm really looking forward to that. All right, now, if I was a baker, and you know I'm not, I bake, but I don't bake well. If I was a baker, today would be a day, y'all. It is, of all things in the world, Lemon Chiffon Cake Day. Ooh, that sounds good, doesn't it? Well, what makes the chiffon cake? Is there another one that needs its own day? I mean, come on, y'all. Now, we need to figure this out. I know that for me, exactly, lemon is anything, but not everybody likes lemon. But it could be orange, it could be any number of other things. But here's what makes it a chiffon cake. I did not know this. Chiffon is made with oil and not butter. That's the first difference. That is what makes the crumb so light, and that's the crumb, of course, is the texture of the cake itself. And that does make a lighter cake. When you eat a pound cake, for example, it's not just named that because it's going to put a pound on each of your hips, which it might. But it's actually named that because there's probably a pound of butter in the cake, okay? Which, as you know, pound cake is a very dense cake. We go to the opposite end of the cake spectrum, we get to angel food. Angel food is only egg whites, all right? Chiffon is in between. Chiffon uses oil, and it uses whipped egg whites to lighten it up, but it also has egg yolk in it so that you still got that fairly tight crumb. And I think that's really interesting to me. Another piece of that is that chiffon cakes do use a baking powder, and many cakes do not. They just rely on that whipped egg to make the leavening source for it. I'm kind of tickled. I don't know that I'm going to go home and make one, but I have to say, I got some pretty good oranges at my house right now, and that would make a really nice cake. Is there a flavor that you like? Let me hear from you. mamaonair@yahoo.com. Maybe we'll start a cake thing.
I'm in on the lemon.
You into that? I think that sounds pretty good. I think that's one that I'm always going to like. But see, I like lemon everything. So I'm.
You and me both. As the older I get, the more I like lemon. Period. Just whatever.
In anything.
Lemon on it.
Mm-hmm. And I have to tell y'all, my lemon tree has responded well to the pruning. The pruning was a hard day because I had to prune a bunch because it had some. We were kind of going one direction and then the other. You know, the tree wasn't. The tree itself is leaning over in the pot, but then I had to at least get the top so that it's going straight forward. It turned out to be pretty good. It's got new growth all over it, and I'm happy about that. Really happy about that. We're going to talk about some building some beds, and we will talk about lots of information about economical food for the soil and whatnot. We're going to get into all of that when we get back here on the Garden Mama Show. You know, I hardly ever want to go to California anymore, but Mr. Musselwhite and Elvin Bishop are touring up and down the coast out there this week.
They have
I would love to be there. They're great. Their music is wonderful.
Well, you can see Mr. Musselwhite at the Mississippi Delta Blues Museum here shortly because they're doing a tribute to ZZ Top, Billy Gibbons, and Charlie Musselwhite, which is an interesting mix. So if you are...
It's perfect. Perfect.
You're into that kind of stuff, like really cool music, you might want to go check that out.
I'm ready. Let's go.
Sounds like a...
The thing about Elvin Bishop that is so much fun is that he was old before he was old. You know, in other words, he played old-timey music when we were all very young, and he has just gotten better and better and better and better. And, of course, Charlie Musselwhite, Mississippi's own, and our joy of knowing him has just had years and years of great performances and wonderful, wonderful times. So I appreciate all of that. And, yes, Delta Blues Museum's got him coming up next with ZZ Top. Come on now, y'all. Why in the world would a band be named ZZ Top? That would be because Billy Gibbons is a really smart guy. That's why. Y'all go read the story somewhere. It's a great one. Not everything comes up with a name that has that much thought behind it, so I appreciate him for that. Don't forget, next Saturday, Mark Patrick will be here with me, and then after the show, we will be grabbing a bite of breakfast and heading out to Doris Berry's in Pearl. Coming up after that, there's just events and events and events. So if you want to know more about it, let me know, mamaonair@yahoo.com. I'm pretty good about answering emails these days. This week was kind of sparse, but that's because I wasn't paying as much attention as I should have. But I got back and answered everything on Thursday. So there you have it. Life is busy sometimes. Now, y'all have been asking some good questions on the text line, and I think I've got some answers. Are Blue Lake running beans, the pole beans, a good bean? Absolutely. They're still recommended. They're still a good bean. But I got to tell you, rattlesnake is also that. Rattlesnake has great recommendations around it and has wonderful, wonderful taste and performance. It's also a couple more that if you like the purple potted beans, Louisiana purple pod turns green when it's cooked, but the one that's called Carmenet is not quite green. So it's a little bit more interesting perhaps, and a delicious bean. It's a very slender bean. So I like that a whole lot. Let's see, who is doing this? I think it's Greg, building raised beds and wanting to know about putting in some old material from last year that's zinnias and tomatoes. Will that just cost a weird bunch of seeds to come up, or what's it going to do? Here's the thing. If you can still recognize the pieces of tomato plant leaf or specific like that, I'm going to let it compost a little longer before I use it for something like this, because it probably does have viable seeds in it, and because it may take away from the dynamic that you're trying to create in the soil in order to have it go ahead and decompose the way it wants to. It may take things away from the soil that you're building. So if you can still recognize its parts, I would not put it in. If, on the other hand, I would just chop it up or mess with it a little bit and let it compost another couple of months. On the other hand, if you can't quite tell what it all is, it's a good element to add into that mix of things that you're building the raised bed with. Pine bark or any bark. Corinne has heard that it will put too much nitrogen in your containers, and since she's eating out of those containers, she doesn't want to necessarily do that, but she also wants to know what else to put. How about shredded newspaper? Is that safe? Those kind of things. These are such good questions. Y'all ask the best questions. I do not have a problem with pine bark or any other kind of bark that you use as a mulch in a container. Yes, it may leach a little more nitrogen into the container, but that's actually why I use very little nitrogen fertilizer through the summer, because I'm not trying to grow more leaves. I'm usually by that time trying to get flowers or fruit or something. So I don't have a problem with that. You may want to use a smaller particle, and you may want to use something that's not pine so that you're not potentially affecting the pH of the soil either. But you absolutely can use shredded newspaper as long as you're not using slick pages, you're using just newspaper pages. My understanding is, and somebody will tell me if I'm wrong, that those are vegetable dyes now, and that therefore it won't be a problem to shred that up and use it as a mulch. I will tell you, though, that when I have used shredded newspaper as a mulch, sometimes I end up with a little bit bigger problem with slugs, so just pay attention and keep an eye out for them. Okay. Bubba in Starkville. You're exactly right. Elvin Bishop sitting on a bale of hay. He ain't good looking, but he sure can play. And you're exactly right. That's a famous one. From Ann in Flowood. Oh, that's beautiful. Oh, my goodness. 5 bluebird eggs. Oh, my goodness. This is just beautiful. Haven't heard from you since 2024 in June, so it's wonderful to have this today. I have to tell y'all, I hope you have a chance to see these. We'll hang on to this picture because they're going to be gorgeous when they make their way in as well. I've got a question like this one coming in that's sitting in my email this morning waiting for me to answer. I looked at it yesterday and I couldn't decide what I thought exactly, so I have to get to it this afternoon, I hope. The azaleas took a big hit from the drought and some diseases. They produced a lot of blooms this year, so I guess that means they're healthy. Should I prune them or let them grow back out on their own? Absolutely prune them. Once the azaleas have bloomed, prune them, because they're going to start preparing their buds for next year within 30 days. And if they certainly will need a little shaping up after the drought and stresses that they have been through. You also need to do a split search. That is to say, look down at the base of those plants and make sure that the stems where they go into the ground are intact. The problem that can happen through stressors like droughts and freezes and back and forth, we can end up splitting the bark at the bottom. And when we do that, sometimes they will bloom prolifically the next year because, well, it's kind of the last hurrah. So check for those splits and make sure that you're not going to need to replace the shrubs ultimately in another year or two. But yes, do prune them. Prune them, give them fertilizer that's made for acid-loving plants like azaleas, and check for those splits. You'll want to do that. I always hate to say that, but it can happen. I noticed yesterday that the hostas have started blooming in my neighborhood. They don't look too good. I think they took a little bit of a hit. I think some of those flower buds, for instance, if yours come up and you end up with a little burning on the edges of the flowers when you don't think there should be, that's probably a little bit of winter damage, that just the flowers started to grow and then they got a little bit bit, even if you didn't see them. So that's something else to consider. Azaleas are also showing some signs of an insect issue. We always have mites and problems on azaleas, but we're also this year, I think, seeing more as a result of this couple of crazy years. We're seeing more of a galling on the azaleas. That's where you just look and there's this brown knob there. It's not a seed pod. It's not anything else. It just needs to be cut off. They're not a problem long term unless you leave them there, because they will debilitate the shrub over time, but you can get rid of them, take those off. Lichen the same way. Take the lichen off, fertilize the plants, do the pruning that you should, and see if we can't get them to grow on past that problem. Any advice on planting sunflowers? When is a good time to plant? Oh, right now. Sunflowers are not difficult to grow, but they do need full sun and they need space. Now, even the varieties like teddy bear that are only about 3 or 4 feet tall and have lots of flowers on them, they're going to be like basically a little shrub in your space. So be sure you give them enough room for that. And the other thing I would say is, when you plant them, if you plant 2 in the holes, 2 in the space, you're going to need to thin them to whatever space that particular sunflower needs. If you're growing gray mammoths, they need more than a foot between plants. But if you're growing some of the others, it'll be more like 5 or 6 inches that are smaller plants. So just be sure you give them proper spacing. Don't over-fertilize, and don't let them dry out. That's probably the best advice I can give you on those. Ooh, yum. Now, in case y'all didn't know, Kathy's reminding us, the farm store at Two Dog Farms in Flora. If you don't know our friends at Two Dog Farms, get yourself over there to visit them. They're also often at the Jackson Farmers Market, but the farm store in Flora is just spectacular. I recommend it. Make a day trip. Go if you don't happen to live there. Go make a day trip. They have a great lemon balsamic glaze. I think they're calling our name, Lance. I think we're going to have to go see about that. Anyone who loves lemons needs this in their pantry. You can put it on anything. I'm going to take that as a challenge. I'm going to put that on some stuff. Let's see now. My left arm. Yeah, that'd be good. What fun. Good recommendation, and such nice people. Such a hard-working bunch. And yes, we do that here. You don't. If you have something I like, I'm going to tell you about it. Okay.
A lemon balsamic glaze.
I'm telling you. Doesn't that sound good? I'm ready. I'm ready. There's so many questions in this world. Why don't we have more lemons? That's probably the best one this morning. Now we're all wanting lemon everything. There are quite a few lemon things in this world, and there also are quite a few other things that taste really, really good that we all like to talk about and enjoy and share back and forth here. You have the opportunity to win a large basket of such things, and Mark's right. Doris Berry does do the most interesting collection of jellies and jams and things.
Yeah, which one was it?
Y'all have been having taste tests.
Like pea jam, and I was like, man, I'm not sure about this. And then you eat it, and it's just amazing.
It's just incredible. They just have everything, but it's really fun. Next week we will be there. Mark and I'll be there after the show, 11 to 1, at Doris Berry's in Pearl, Mississippi. And we're going to talk plants and carry on and play with y'all, and then we will be giving away this beautiful basket of yummy goodies. It's a great place to shop on a regular basis, too. They have produce that just knock your socks off. So it's another great place to go and get some fun food and some fun people. Jake says that his raised vegetable garden gave me plants last year, but no crops. He used Miracle Grow. What am I doing wrong? Could my neighbors spraying for mosquitoes be an issue? Probably not the neighbors spraying for mosquitoes. I don't know how to say this, but the sprays that they use for mosquitoes are not all that effective. They do a little bit, but it's not going to be, I don't think it would have an effect on your garden. I'm going to guess that we're back to that nitrogen issue. I'm going to figure that there was enough nitrogen in your bed to grow, to get the soil going and to get the plants going. And then when you come in with Miracle Grow, that usually has a lot of nitrogen in it too. It'll be like a 20-20-20 fertilizer. So I would say switch to a vegetable garden food, which is going to look like something like 5-10-10. It will have a granular basis, and use that with your plants this year. Let's hold down the nitrogen and see if we can't get them to go ahead and bear. As long as you're in full sun and they have the proper spacing and you got a variety that'll grow, you should be having them. Okay? Okay. Yes, sir. You have who?
We have a call from a man in West Point, Mississippi, and I wanted to let him, I think he said Willie, but going in.
Okay.
Yeah, tell me again what your first name is, and had a great question for you.
Good morning. Thank you for calling.
Okay, this is Willie in West Point.
Hey, darling. Good to hear from you.
I want to know, when do I prune a camellia bush?
Okay. Within 30 days after it finishes blooming, you need to prune those camellias, unless you're taking off like I was doing this week. There's some if the branches are just going to be completely gone, you're going to take them off because the thing's too tall or it's rubbing on the side of the house or something like that. That's one thing. But if if you can take those off anytime.
No.
But to get them to bloom next year, prune those right now. Okay? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. You have a blessed day, ma'am.
Take care now. Love hearing from you. You know, we don't think about that a lot. We always say prune within 30 days. But if you come into the yard rather, and you've got people coming to the house, it's July, and your azalea has one big stick coming out one side of it, it's okay to go cut that down. You're not going to leave that there anyway. So you can take that off. The same thing is true with a camellia. In this case, the camellia bloomed right in the middle, but it still had some things sticking out the top. And those can come off anytime because they're not going to be part of the flowering process for next year. Okay? Ray in Gluckstadt agrees that Two Dogs Farms store is a good store. We love it. And the people who work there, too, he says. Jake loves the vegetable gardens. He likes my idea about how to use a little bit less nitrogen this year and see if we can't build on the fact that there's already plenty of nitrogen there. Why don't we remember what happened to us as babies? Well, turns out we do in more cases than you might think. I have been skeptical of this myself. I've heard people talk about things that happened to them when they were 2 or when they were 4. And I really think about I have some early memories, but they're not memories of specific occasions or events. Some people have much more of that than I do. Research from Yale University is letting us know that there's actually memories can be encoded in our brains and stay there. And they're studying this, of course, particularly in relationship to trauma, but I hope that they will also study it in terms of how you feel good about yourself. Whether you do or whether you don't, I do think it might start in the cradle. Let's see. Something to think about. We'll be right back. I love social media. I know not everybody does. Not everybody has the good sense to get rid of things they don't want to read. Just find the ones they do. Like, for instance, just popped in to make sure I hadn't missed anything this morning, and sure enough, there's my friend Kenneth Georgia, Atala FFA. They have moved their plant sale to April the 12th. He said he talked to the plants, and they said they were ready to go, and they are beautiful. The pictures in the greenhouse are just wonderful. So y'all get yourselves together to go to their plant sale on April the 12th in Atala. Okay? Now, here's another good question. If I grew carrots in bags, before, how you plant things in the bag, the grow bags. But now to plant some beans, do I need to do anything to the soil? As long as that soil survived the carrots well and it feels good to your hands, when you touch it and whatnot, I would only put a little bit of fertilizer in there to kind of make up for what it's lost to the carrots to plant the beans. Once the beans are up and growing, they will fix nitrogen from the air around them. You can also inoculate the beans if you happen to have that particular product available to you. This is a good case for inoculation because it does help them get over anything that might be in the soil that would cause them a problem. But it also helps them with their nitrogen fixing later on down the way. So it's a great idea to reuse that soil, and you don't have to do very much to it because the carrots will have used it, but they won't probably have messed it up too much. So I like that. I really like that. Have you ever wondered how feathers get made? How did we ever get anything with feathers in it? PLOS biology, one of our favorite things. As usual, there's something we have to unlearn. How many things do we have to unlearn? Well, quite a few of them. They're both thermoregulation and flight and communication in birds. They use feathers for all of those things, but they all come from what you might imagine are called proto-feathers. That is to say, certain dinosaurs had those, and by studying how the chicken develops, two researchers from the University of Geneva have uncovered the key role of a molecular signaling pathway that causes that particular formation to turn into a feather. So it's not as straightforward as we once thought, but nor is it any more difficult to understand that something changed and then something changed, and therefore we ended up with feathers. I always want to know what happened in between. Did some creature need the feathers for this or that, and they didn't have it, so we don't have that creature anymore? Well, yeah, probably. That's how those things work out. It's kind of interesting stuff. I also tell you some other things. I had no idea about this. Kangaroos weigh a lot. Kangaroos weigh more than 4 kilograms. That's big. They're little babies, though. The musky rat kangaroos, and yes, that is the true name of them, I did not make it up, are only little bitty. They're like 500 grams or something. They jump in a different way, and now we're learning how. It's another case where we have to change things. We're learning about the way kangaroos hop, and they really are. They look different because they are different, and this is their oldest ancestor that's still around that we can study. Pretty interesting, though. It doesn't hop. It is the state before hopping, and it's really odd. I think they probably should have called them Goofy instead of this other silly name, musky rat kangaroos. Sounds like
you call them like pre-hoppers.
Yeah, sounds like muskrat love to me. But it's. I was never a Captain and Tennille fan, so I don't know if that's pejorative or not. But it's something you don't necessarily forget. Ooh, good question. What is inoculation? Well, inoculation is, for example, if we know that our dogwood tree and our Japanese maple tree have lost their leaves too early, they've prematurely defoliated every August for 2 years, the chances are that problem is not summer drought or summer rain or any of that. The chances are, particularly if there's little white dots all over the leaves, the chances are very good that it is actually a fungus disease that happened in the springtime when things were wet and the conditions were just right for that to develop. But if we spray with a fungicide at that time, if we inoculate the plants against what's going to attack them, then we can give them some benefit, and they may or may not have the problem later on in the summer, but it will be less serious of a problem. The same thing is true if we inoculate bean seeds with the ability to help manufacture their own nitrogen, give them that booster. We're doing the same thing. We're just changing the circumstance so that things go more in our favor. And that's really what inoculating, we might talk about this or that can inoculate us against one thing or another, and what it does is to give us a layer of protection that we didn't have before. It's one that we have manipulated and created, and therefore we can have it. So it's a good question. Thank you for asking. Pretty. Lovely. Yeah, that's another one was going on today. Andrea's been to the Eudora Welty House sale today. She got this beautiful native azalea. Yes, I have tips for planting this. Plant it in very little sun at all, morning sun only, and be sure that you plant it with plenty of room around it because it does need to have bright light, but it does not want to be directly sunned on to survive. It will grow in full sun. the flowers will be really pretty, but unfortunately they won't last very long. So if we can put it in a more sheltered environment, that's really the only thing that's necessary for them. I love native azaleas. I like plants that bloom before they put on their leaves in general because I think it's so dramatic. But I think in this case it's particularly lovely. Email address, please. Yes, sir. Thank you very much. mamaaonair@yahoo.com. And yes, I will put that also into the text line for you. We are so lucky to have email, to have social media, to be able to talk to each other in so many different ways. It does make a big difference in my world because I'm not all over the place. You know, I'm happy to be where I am, but I'm also happy to be able to communicate with you wherever you happen to be, and that makes things a lot easier for me. So today we've talked about why do kangaroos hop? Why do we not remember things from when we're babies? How do dinosaurs form feathers that become those of birds? Been a busy day around here. Good questions though. Y'all are breaking records every week for the number and quality of these questions. I particularly want to recommend Ami to you, which is bishop flower. It is a beautiful cut flower. It's also a beautiful garden flower. If you like Queen Anne's lace, if you like those kind of things, you'll love this one. I love the fact that Greg's blueberries are so gorgeous. We got to find something to print that picture on the cover of because it's too pretty not for everybody to see. I really like that Mike's planting us an 8x10 Morning Glory flag. I think that's going to be very, very cool. And I'm really happy to show you that sometimes you can chop things off and they turn out to grow and be happy. And that's the case of the foxtail fern that I chopped off this week. It's looking much, much better. Whether you're building a raised bed or whether you're mulching in containers, all of those kind of things, that's what we do around here. It's a very general horticulture program, all about gardening and all about what's going on in your garden. Don't forget, get your tickets, the Garden Club of Jackson.com to get your tickets for their event coming up in the first part of April. Don't forget, next week, Peaches will be here with me, and then we will be at Doris Berry, so you want to come and see us there. So much going on, so many wonderful things to talk about. My thanks again to Shelley and Meridian for putting me in that beautiful, really wonderful, gorgeous, that's a beautiful magazine Meridian has going over there. I love that. What is the best determinant tomato plant to grow in our area? I'm in Brookhaven. Celebrity is the variety to look for. Get yourself some. Whatever you're doing this week, I hope it's green. I'll be back here next week, and we'll do a little bit more of the Garden Mama Show.